ain't the king of the temples too. Don't let him rise and make a fool of you. Let your soul feel whole and refuse to let him in. Let your light shine bright. Learn to see again.
This is your place for all things Detroit Red Wings and all things Chicago Blackhawks. This is the Stick Blade Podcast with your hosts, Jordan Linscott, David Barnhouse, Nick LePage, and Tim Stompanato. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of the Stick Blade Podcast. It is your place for all things Detroit Red Wings, as well as Chicago Blackhawks and news around the NHL. I'm your host for tonight, Jordan Linscott, and I'm joined by my co-hosts, David Barnhouse, Nick LePage, and Tim Stompanato. Everybody, welcome to our show. Like I said, we're your place for all things Blackhawks, all things Red Wings. Everybody, it's been a weird week around the NHL. It's still quiet. It's the offseason, but the Blackhawks have had some pretty big news this past week with passing of Rocky Wirtz. We're going to talk about that. Obviously, it's a big change for the club moving forward. Kind of signals the end of a dynasty era in the Blackhawks franchise past. We're going to be talking about, what might we be looking at after this era is over now. And we're also going to be talking about just league-wide news, the retirement of Patrice Bergeron, and also Erik Karlsson getting traded to the Pittsburgh Penguins. Two pretty big moves for the NHL in general. But like I said, that's pretty much the topic that we have for tonight to talk about with you guys. Fellas, how are you doing?
Good. It's good to be back.
Absolutely. All right.
Every time we take a week off, I miss the boys, miss talking shop. So happy to be here and record another episode.
Yeah, good to be back, letting things build up a little bit in the off season, but got a couple of fun is an interesting word, but we've got a couple of topics that I'm excited to get into and talk about with you guys.
Yep, looking forward to it.
So I kind of want to just start with obviously the big one. Rocky Wirtz, the basically owner of the Chicago Blackhawks.
Yeah.
He passes away suddenly, didn't really see it coming or anything like that. This wasn't like the writing was on the wall and it was waiting to happen. Like, it just literally came out of nowhere. The guy who took over this franchise and really ushered in a whole new era into Chicago hockey in terms of, getting the games on TV for people to see, putting together these rosters that were competing for cups year after year after year. He passes, and now all of a sudden Chicago's going to have a new ownership, so to speak, in the forms of it's going to get passed down to his kids. I mean, Tim and Nick, this obviously affects you guys way more than it affects me and David. What is your guys' initial take here?
Yeah, it was sad, shocking. Obviously, people are going to have their comments based off everything else, but based off what we've got to see in Rocky, he changed the franchise for the better back when his old man died, Bill Wirtz. Obviously, like you said, Jordan, games weren't on TV. Only the road games were. It was a dead sport in the city of Chicago, and nobody was attending games, and the players weren't really treated all that fairly under ownership of Bill Wirtz. Nobody was getting paid, and then all of a sudden, Bill Wirtz passes away, and Rocky takes over, and it just became a first-class organization. Like, the players were treated perfectly. It became a destination spot for free agents, first-class flying everywhere, top-notch hotels. Everybody had great words to speak of. I mean, Rocky Wirtz was in the crowd with the fans in some games, like sitting on his little lawn chair. He would be
that he would bring out.
Yeah, and it's like,
that's unreal.
Yeah, it is. He was like a true fan. Like, he was an enjoyer of the sport, and he just loved the team. I mean, obviously, you can't tell the complete story of Rocky Wirtz without, his rant about the Kyle Beach situation and everything like that. But for the most part, he was an incredible owner. It seemed like he treated everybody in this that was a part of this Hawks organization with class. And, it was a sad day. It's just, it sucks when you lose ownership, and now it's on to Danny Wirtz to carry the torch.
Well, that's the interesting thing, right? Like, Rocky Wirtz saved hockey in Chicago. When Dollar Bill Wirtz died, there was a whole, not only was it Rocky stepping up, it also coincided with just coming into like the start of the Kane and Tays era, the dynasty. It's kind of remarkable and weird how it works out that Rocky owned the team during the Kane and Tays dynasty years. Really, that's it. Because when the door finally closed on that, he passes away. I don't know. It's a weird legacy that this small micro of like Dollar Bill Wirtz had it forever. It feels like Rocky really only has that decade plus of legacy, and yet it's so iconic in Chicago history. But you're right, Nick. He's a public figure and a very, people contain multitudes. He's both the person who resurrected and saved Chicago hockey and his one comment and blow up at that town hall meeting regarding the Brett Aldrich scandal. It will have an impact on his legacy, but I do think that the net at the end of the day is that Rocky left a very positive and healing legacy for the most part for Chicago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. I mean, you're 100% right, Tim. And like you were saying about kind of how Bill Wirtz passed away when the Kane and Tays era begins, and it's kind of ironic,
so weird.
Now Rocky passes away. I think in the statement it was like a short period of sickness. So kind of
unexpected. 70. Like that is not old.
No, not at all.
Standards at
like,
all.
It's just ironic that now the new wave that everybody's kind of ranting and raving about. Connor Bedard takes over.
Talk about a clean slate in a lot of ways.
But it's like the same way his dad went. It's like,
yeah, well, that's what's weird to me. Like,
you have franchise altering players coming in, and you pass away right before it. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's I don't know, Jordan, David, what are your thoughts as sort of outsiders seeing this shift in Chicago, and like you saw it the last decade or so? It truly is the button on the end of an era.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want to go first? Do you want me to go first, David?
I'll go. Yeah, like you guys said, it's eerily similar how Dollar Bill Wirtz passes after they acquire top-notch generational talent, and then Chicago kind of hockey scene was reborn. And just when it started, I'm not going to say dwindle again because you guys like didn't lose hockey. It just the Hawks were struggling, and then you get Bedard and Rocky unexpectedly passes away. Now Danny takes over. It's weird. Like, yes, the guy brought hockey back to Chicago, treated the players well, all these things, but then you have the scrutiny and you have the controversy that overshadows a lot of that 100%. With the Kyle Beach stuff and the rant. Like the rant, like my jaw was just
the
how
rant.
Can you say that?
Yeah, the rant was the biggest issue. Like, yes, trusted people and put people in positions of power that ignore. Like the report had come out basically saying that Rocky had been did not know what was going on. He was pretty much cleared in the report, and then to have the response that he had really is the one major, and it's the problem is one black mark, but it's a major black mark.
You can do 100 good things and then do one bad thing, and people are going to remember that one bad thing.
Joe Quenneville.
I've worked at summer camp stuff, and we tell our counselors, like, when you're putting the kid in the car at the end of the day, make sure you're happy. You're like, hey, have a great day. See you later. Like, if they leave that camp with a negative interaction anywhere throughout the day, that's all they're going to focus on. So you could do, like I said, 100 positive things, but you do the one not good thing, and that's what people will remember.
I mean, the thing that I think is also kind of interesting about this is, like, you guys are right. Like, he didn't really hold the team for a super long amount of time, right?
No.
Like, it was literally during the Hawks dynasty era. Then you had, like, I would call it the post dynasty area where the team really started to fall off and was starting to bottom out. And I think now the interesting thing is that Danny's going to, at least I'm assuming, Danny is going to completely step in, and he's going to have this team for a pretty long time. And admittedly, I'm not in the rooms at the board meetings and stuff like that, but I feel like Danny is going to run this organization as a very personal, like very professional atmosphere where respect is something that's valued, where people are valued, And I think it's going to be a continuation of what the Hawks have became after Rocky took over.
Yeah, that's a good point too. I think he's gonna hold it with pride. It's just, obviously it's like the first time a passing of ownership I think has happened in a while with us Chicago
Certainly
sports
in
fan.
Chicago.
Yeah. So it's always kind of leaves things in limbo because of Rocky, the Hawks, not for the past reason like that we just talked about with Kyle Beach, but the Hawks were hated because they were
so
best,
good.
They were the best.
Yeah, we were hated long
before.
Yeah, because of how good we were.
Yeah, and they were in national markets. They were always on Winter Classics, or they were always in Stadium Series games, and that's because of Rocky Wirtz. He was a true businessman. He knew what put asses in the seats, and he was able to convince Gary Bettman. And now, like when it comes to passing of ownership, you hope that Danny Wirtz is able to, reach in those pockets like Rocky would do. And it's scary that it's kind of in limbo. I mean, we have seen Danny Wirtz already break open that checkbook. They bought the Chicago Steel, so hopefully, they keep spending the money on the Hawks. And I mean, it's different when it's all on you. I mean, Danny could say all these things and be like, oh yeah, things are going to stay the same. But like when it's your money now going out the door, it's going to change. And I really hope Danny is like his father and not like his grandfather because.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just it's an awkward time in Chicago.
I think Danny is a good reflection. So far I've been very pleased with a lot of at least what we have seen on the public level of what Danny Wirtz has brought to the table for the organization, for revamping culture, for actual take culture out of it, even just on the business side of the operation. So far, him and Jamie Faulkner, I've been very pleased with what I've seen, and I'm hoping that this will be not a shift, but a continuation and moving forward. Rocky stepped in, and it was a new era of business and hockey in Chicago. And I think Danny's a continuation of that, sort of reflecting the modern age of business and the concepts that are in business today with culture and with what it takes to run an organization. It's not just the money you put in that's important, but also what you invest in people and, cultivating an environment. Like Danny seems to be taking that next step. So to your point, Nick, really all we can do now is wait and see, which is terrifying, but hopefully optimistic.
Owning's a long game. It's not immediate.
Oh yeah.
It's a long game.
It's interesting because it's like a family-owned thing. Like we can look at the Detroit Lions, for example, with the Ford family, and how Martha Ford. Nothing against Martha Ford, but she made decisions that irked the fans wrong. Mainly bringing in Bob Quinn and Matt Patricia, but when her daughter Sheila Hamp Ford took over, you can see them wanting to really do right by the fans and really rebuild that culture. And I think Chicago, the Hawks do need that rebuild a bit after the Kyle Beach scandal and everything that went on with that. And maybe Danny's going to shift towards something like that.
Yeah.
I mean,
it seems like it's clean slate. It's a white. It's complete.
I mean, this is it, right? Kane and Taze are both off the team. Rocky is talk about. It is a whole new era of Chicago Blackhawks hockey.
Yep. All the players that were on that team during those scandals are now gone.
And during the dynasty in general.
Yeah, it's crazy time. I mean, I think, with death, you kind of need to lighten the mood a bit. There's no one more upset that Rocky Wirtz passed away in this buku bucks that Connor Bedard's bringing in than Rocky Wirtz.
100%.
He's kicking himself.
No one is more sick than Rocky Wirtz.
Wherever he's up or down, Rocky Wirtz is definitely kicking himself.
Oh, absolutely. I love that. No, you're absolutely correct, Nick.
One thing I think is going to be interesting to see here, and I'm kind of excited to see it, is because Danny is so young to be an owner, this is, I think, really going to be his chance to establish, this is his chance to truly build the Chicago Blackhawks franchise the way he wants it built.
Yeah.
I got downvoted into oblivion for saying it on Reddit, but I honestly think the Hawks have only really been rebuilding for maybe 3 years.
Yeah.
And
why is the Blackhawks subreddit so mean?
They are. Like, listen, I don't know. We're meatball fans, so we don't know how to handle anything.
Sorry, Jordan, but I'm like, why do they always downvote us? Like anyone, they're like, no.
But this, I really feel like this is going to be Danny's chance to determine and set, hey, this is the Blackhawks organization that I want my name and my family's legacy attached to. He's got, like you guys said, a completely clean slate here to work with. Everybody from the previous regime and the previous teams and all that the Blackhawks, really rose to power with again, those guys are gone. This is really his chance to put his own stamp on it and say, this is mine.
Yeah, no, I mean,
love
you're
it.
100% hitting on the head there, Jordan, because he's gotten the camera work on him. Like, he's been the spokesperson and like
He's been the face of the organization. I feel like they transitioned that very well.
Yeah, he was like the talking head of ownership, obviously after the rant. But I think that rant, the town hall meeting, was the last public appearance we've seen of Rocky.
Rocky went to ground after,
yeah. And so ever since then, Danny has been the talking head. He was the only one to speak. I think Rocky was just sitting there actually when they did the conclusive, when they concluded the investigation.
Yeah.
And Danny was the only one to speak. But yeah, so he's done all the right things on camera in the face. But now, now it's when the lights shine bright. It's all on you. I mean, obviously, I think Rocky has a few other kids. I don't know if they're.
It sounded like, from what I saw, it was split amongst the children, the ownership, but obviously Danny is the one that's
who's really hands-on with
it.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like, there's ownership, and then there's people that are driving it. Like, it sounds like all the kids have some form of ownership of it, but Danny's paving the path.
He's the guy, and yeah, I mean, you could only hope that, like I said, that he is like his father. Because besides that one glaring black mark that you were talking about, Tim, Rocky did a lot of great things for this organization, a lot of great things for the players, and it seemed like everybody from top to bottom was treated with respect, and even the fans. So,
I think it's probably the hope that every parent has for their kid, that Danny's like his father but better.
Yeah,
learns from the past, learns the good things, learns the bad things, learns how to keep moving forward, and hopefully he takes that next step. That's what I'm excited to see.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess, thoughts are with the Wirtz family.
Oh God. Yeah. Condolences, thoughts with them. Absolutely.
Here's to another new era of Blackhawks.
Yeah.
I feel like we've been saying that for like the last few weeks.
I'm ready for the era. We've been into the new era for I
feel like Taylor Swift with all these eras.
We're just going on our era tour, guys.
I'm in my Bedard era now.
I remember when we broke up.
So is there anything else that we want to touch on before we move on from Rocky Wirtz?
Well, all I know is that when we're talking about eras, I think this year I'm trying to get into more of a gambling era, taking those chances, taking those risks. I'm going into that era in this coming year.
I want to listen more about it too. Like, I want to hear you tell me about it. What are ways I can hear too?
Oh, that's a good question, David.
That is a perfect segue into one of our sponsors for tonight's show. The first sponsor that we have for tonight's show is going to be DraftKings Sportbook. Basically, if you haven't heard of DraftKings, it's an online betting platform where you can bet all sorts of stuff with all sorts of sports. New customers, download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code THPN. You can bet just $5 and score $150 in bonus bets instantly. Again, that's code THPN, only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER in Massachusetts, 800-327-5050, or visit gamblinghelplinema.org. In New York, call 877-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. In Kansas, call 1-800-522-4700. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino Resort in West Virginia, gambling problem, you can call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.1800gambler.net. All games are regulated by the West Virginia Lottery. Please play responsibly. In partnership with Hollywood Casino at Charlestown Races. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling by calling 1-888-789-7777 or visiting ccpg.org. So you have to be 21 in most eligible states, but age varies by jurisdiction. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details and state-specific responsible gambling resources. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. 1 boost of eligible per game. Opt-in required. Max bet $50. 10 plus legal requirement for 100% boost. Eligible wagering and deposit restrictions apply. Terms at DraftKings Sportsbook. DraftKings.com/baseball teams. So, boys, let's move on to probably the bigger piece of news around the NHL. Erik Karlsson is going to the Pittsburgh Penguins, boys.
It's crazy.
I love it.
I hate it. This is going to be great.
Oh yeah, no. Listen, as a not a Penguins fan, I hate it. But like as someone who can detach and put the little boxes in his brain and like focus from a pure hockey standpoint, this is a fantastic move for the Penguins as long as they have Sidney Crosby, Letang, and Malkin locked up. They should be making moves like this. This is really exciting.
So.
Oh, okay. No, okay. This is great. I love this energy, Nick.
All right, so I'm gonna break down the trade real quick.
Break it down.
It was a three-way trade, basically.
I think Nick's breaking down right now. So
there were a whole ton of assets moving here, everyone. So if you have a pad and paper, go ahead and get it because you're gonna have to write this all down. The Pittsburgh Penguins receive obviously Erik Karlsson, the big piece of this trade. They receive Rem Pitlick via Montreal. They get Dylan Hamlick from San Jose. They get a 2026 third rounder that's San Jose's as well. San Jose gets their 2024 first rounder from Pittsburgh. They get Mikael Granlund, Jan Ruta, and they also get Mike Hoffman. And then Montreal, they get a 2025 second rounder from Pittsburgh. They get Jeff Petrie, Casey DeSmith, and Nathan Laguerre. So a lot of moving parts to this trade. Obviously, Erik Karlsson being the big one that's going to Pittsburgh. And then Montreal kind of, I think, brokered this trade to make it help work.
Yeah.
Like I said, I hate this trade, and it's not... I'll explain why I hate this trade afterwards, but somebody else please take this first.
Is it funny to anyone else that Mike Hoffman and Erik Karlsson are once again involved in like trade discussions? Because when they were both in Ottawa, that was the whole thing. Their spouses didn't like each other. They didn't like each other. There were trades to move them out. And now here they are. Because Mike Hoffman was a San Jose Shark for like a day before they flipped him, and now he's back to being a San Jose Shark. That's funny to me. That's not going to be any part of this trade talk in any other circumstance, but it's just humorous to me.
No, yeah, 100%. Jordan, I'll come to defend you here. You might hate it for different reasons than I do. Listen, I'm all for, taking advantage. Like I wanted the Hawks to, take the most advantage of the Kane and Taves era. And, go get superstars. Obviously, that didn't work. It didn't work out that way. Pittsburgh, that's what they're doing. They're bringing in Erik Karlsson, a puck-moving defenseman, very good on the offensive side. A little shaky on the defensive side, but he's elite at being an offensive forward or offensive defenseman. Sorry. He's also 34?
Yeah.
30.
Yeah.
That's what scares me. I mean, like, I get you want to get another elite talent to make the most of the Crosby, Malkin, Letang era, but it is turning into a retirement home over there with the ages.
Oh, it is. It 100% is.
And Dubas, I know he has the resume, but that takes a lot of cojones to go make a move like that. And, that's a lot of salary invested in a bunch of old guys. And, Jeff Petrie was a puck-moving defenseman. He's back to Montreal. Obviously not as great as Erik Karlsson, but, it's seemingly just acquiring another offensive defenseman, just like Jeff Petrie was for. I mean, obviously San Jose retained, I think 13%.
So $1.5 million annually.
But that's still a ton of money.
I guess. Go ahead, David.
It's just weird to me that San Jose, I guess they wanted to clear cap space and trade Karlsson when he's high because he's 32, 33. For how old he is now.
We're going to have to get a definitive number on that at some point. But yes, he's in his 30s for sure.
But this is the second time they've traded away like a Norris defenseman, Brent Burns.
But they're in a totally different position than like
33.
Pittsburgh right now because they went into that full rebuild mode because they traded away Timo Meier. Obviously, Joe Thornton and Patrick Marleau were like their core guys, and they're gone, retired, call it a day. And now they're in building from the ground up. And they had some of these residuals, Brent Burns, that they had from the cup winning year or not cup competing years. Sorry, guys. You have Erik Karlsson, who I think was a great move at the time, but I think he was also injured or recovering from injuries over the last couple of years. I think this is I think it's a worthy risk because he's used to playing top pairing minutes. Chris Letang is their top defenseman. I think we're going to see Erik Karlsson on the second pairing, which I think is going to you ease up his minutes a little bit. That's a good move for someone in their mid-30s. It's going to allow him. It's going to allow him to be deployed in like some defensive situations where he's not going to be as pressed defensively. And even then, like as an offensive defenseman, he's no Eric Gustafsson. Like he still has the capacity to play defense. It's just not, it's not great. His offense is the allure. But this is going to totally re-energize their power play, which is what they need. They needed somebody else on defense that can put a little giddy up back in the play. I don't know. It's the kind of swing we haven't seen in a while for Pittsburgh. Like it's been a couple of years since they've made a move like this.
It is. Yeah. Dubas coming out hot.
All right, so can I please explain why I hate this trade?
I would love to. Jordan. I would love to hear it.
All right, so whenever I look at big trades like this, I always try to look at big picture for a team and like what's really going on. When I look at Pittsburgh, like, do they still have Sidney Crosby, Evgeny Malkin, Jake Gensel, and Chris Letang? Yeah, they still have those guys. But you're injecting Erik Karlsson into this roster, and he's not a budget ad by any means. Like, you're not paying $3 million for Erik Karlsson. Erik Karlsson has got big money attached to him. He's still got a lot of term attached to him. And when you look at Pittsburgh's goalie, situation moving forward, who is it? Tristan Jarry and Alex Nedeljkovic, I think, is going to be their 1A, 1B?
It's Hellberg and Nedeljkovic. I don't know if Jarry's still there.
Wait, Jarry is, I think. I know they traded Casey DeSmith, but...
Yeah, they just paid.
Okay, yeah, so Tristan Jarry. So it's Tristan Jarry, then Ned Hellberg.
But that's not okay. So that's it's fine. It's not killer.
You add Erik Karlsson, who is an offensive defenseman, on a team that doesn't have goaltending or defense issues. I think it's a good add. But I kind of said this when San Jose acquired him via free agency. You're kind of already adding a piece that you already have in Chris Letang, but now you've got the free agency premium attached to him. Like when San Jose originally acquired Erik Karlsson, they already had Brent Burns playing as their number one defenseman there, and the guy was perfectly serviceable, playing that role just fine. Pittsburgh's already got the number one defenseman with Chris Letang, so albeit Chris Letang is about to be on the wrong side of his 30s.
And he's got injury concerns.
Yeah, and he's got injury concerns.
This could ease up both of their loads, which is not a bad thing.
It could, but my big problem with this is what they're paying for Erik Karlsson. I mean, you've got to think they're booting basically a first-round draft pick this year. They're going to boot all their salary cap. They've got less room to work with now in terms of wiggle room, and you're banking on the fact that Crosby does not decline, Malkin doesn't decline, Letang doesn't decline, that your goaltending is going to be just as good, if not better, than the year before.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like they're banking too much on what-ifs with this move. That's my big issue with it.
They 100% are. That's the thing. Oh, go ahead.
No, it's just like that. It's 100% what it is. It's like this could be a home run or this could fail colossally.
Yep. I guess I get we don't see these kind of moves often. Like I feel like in hockey we're so worried about these big swings, and obviously the hard cap is a big part of that. It discourages risky maneuvers like this. I love that it's not my team doing it so that I can have like a detached, like, oh, this is exciting to watch as an experiment. But like the concept of you've got Crosby and Malkin and Letang, they're all locked up. They're not going anywhere. Those are quote unquote untradeable contracts because of the length and the money that's still on them. The ability to tear down is not possible realistically with those 3 contracts on the books. You've got Gunsel, who I know is going to be out for a bit, but he's still a huge part of your play. They got rid of the Mikael Garland. It's Garland, right?
Yeah.
That they they got rid of that contract, which definitely helped. They got Rem Pitlick in this, which I think is going to be a good bottom 6 guy for them. If this works, it's going to be really exciting to see. And frankly, I respect Dubas saying we need something to energize. And I know Erik Karlsson is not a defensive defenseman, but he's got the puck more often than not. If he's got the puck, he doesn't have to worry about being defensive. I don't know. I'm excited about the potential of this trade.
Yeah. Speaking of being defensive, I was just gonna wrap it up with something funny, but go ahead, Nick.
No, I just got a few more things to add. I mean, as for San Jose on this end, I don't think they maximized the asset at all.
No,
I agree.
I know Erik Karlsson had
they got 1 first out of it.
I know Erik Karlsson
some players,
a bunch of cap dumps.
Yeah,
and it made no sense. I don't think it really made much sense on their end.
Yeah, no, that's. I would love to talk more about San Jose's side of it. Like the Canadians, cool. They did some fun shuffling around. All right, awesome. Sid, I'm with you. I think that if there's a winner in this trade, again, you can't judge the trade until a couple years later. But like, I think the Penguins are poised to be the winners if Erik Karlsson is at all successful. Because to your point, Nick, San Jose did not get as much back as they should have for a Norris. Like,
yeah, the same with the Brent Burns trade, in my opinion, as well. Like, I feel like they didn't get as much back.
Maybe they were just itching to move on and got what they could. I don't know. It's a weird. I hope that they have a plan, but like they had to have been able to get more.
Yeah, and it's just weird. I mean, I guess before I pass it over to David for his joke, just weird how. Pittsburgh, they went from essentially with Hextall, he was essentially just trying to break that team up, like tear it down, with lowballing Malkin, and then he's going to piss off everybody else because I guess they wanted the old guys out, and now it's just like, oh, we'll take all your old guys, bring them here, see what Lemieux can do out of retirement, bring him back.
Yeah, bring him, get Yager back.
Yeah,
we're getting the old guard back together.
Yeah, get the retirement home together. David, over to you.
I was just saying, like, speaking of being defensive, hearing all the guys on this show talking about, oh, he's on the wrong side of his 30s, and, oh, someone in their mid-30s needs to have their minutes limited. As someone in their early to mid-30s, I'm waiting for Tim to start telling me he's going to start limiting my minutes and tell me to take naps.
We're like the same age, David.
Are we?
I think so.
Come on, we're all the same.
I'm either 31 or 32. I can never remember.
Nick, don't even say that. Don't even say
Yeah, Nick, okay. It is nap time.
25? It was nap time? Okay, sweet.
Stupid. Oh, I'm 32. My wife just texted me.
I'm turning 35 this month, so I'm about to be on the Chris Letang
wrong
side of his 30s.
You're in retirement age. Hope your 401. Hope your pension is set.
What's that?
Yeah, I was gonna say, wait a minute. Is there still pensions? Not this podcast. Not.
Welcome to Economic Talk with the Stick Blade Podcast.
Oh man,
that's your stock blade.
The stock
blade.
I really do think this. I feel like I say this about all of like the big trades that happen, but I feel like this one really does. It has, I think, the most like boomer bust potential of any trade in a long time.
It's a very high risk, high reward trade.
Yeah, because like if Erik Karlsson turns in like another 70, 80 point season,
then great.
Great. Unless he gave over more than that number.
Yeah, if he ends the year as a
chances.
minus, like that's going to be an issue. But like we see this in the NBA, we see moves like this happen every year in the NBA, and in hockey, everyone's like, "Oh, I guess I'll move this third pairing guy for a fourth rounder. That's our big move." Like, no, this is exciting for me as long as it's not my team and I can just sort of casually enjoy it.
Yeah, that's true.
That's one thing that's fun about us is when stuff like this happens, we get to look at it from the outside.
Oh yeah, it's great.
Like
I
we
have
get
no
to
stress
watch.
about this.
We
I
get
have
to
friends
watch
who
the
are Penguins
tornado in the
fans.
bottle.
I have
Yeah,
friends
I'm sure
who are
your Penguins
fans
check on
and-
your Penguins friends because
And they're just like, I don't know what to think about this right now. I'm like, well, we're going to find out.
But yeah, that's obviously like the big trade that's been going around the NHL, and it finally came to fruition. There were some rumors circling Erik Karlsson was going to get traded, but that's kind of the big news around the NHL. That's like, it's going to impact multiple teams. We'll move on to our next segment in just a moment, but first we need to talk to you guys about our other sponsor for tonight's show, and that would be Raycon. Now, even if you're not going on vacation, summer's obviously all about, the vacation mindset. And whether I want to listen to you just, either Slayer or what other metal band I've got on repeat. I just like to retreat inside my own head for a bit. I like making my own little summer soundtrack, so to speak, by popping my Raycon wireless earbuds. Not tonight, obviously. Like I like the ease. But if I'm going to do that, that's what I'm going to put on. There's obviously so much going on all summer. Sometimes you just need some upbeat music to pump you up before you see people, or stay calm with some guided meditation. If you're obviously ASMR, if any of you guys do that, that's a fun thing to look into. So like before I go to the gym, I'll have earbuds playing in, and again, put me on like some mood to like just go throw weights around the gym, listen to something that makes me want to, bash holes into the wall.
Hockey ASMR.
Don't tell me none of you guys have never done it. Put on some hardcore heavy metal music and just wanted to throw something around.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what I'll usually do. And let me tell you right now, Raycons are the best way to listen. You can use earbud tap functions to toggle between 3 custom sound profiles. You've got noise isolation and awareness mode. They have a 32-hour battery life, including 8 hours of playtime, so you can listen to what you want, when you want, for a really long time. They come with custom gel tips for the most comfortable in-ear fit, and they start at half price of other premium audio brands, but they sound just as good. And Raycons come with a 30-day happiness guarantee, so you really can't lose on them. You can create your own soundtrack with Raycon right now. Hockey Podcast Network listeners, you can get 50% off your Raycon order at buyraycon.com/THPN. That's buyraycon.com/THPN to save 15% on your Raycons. Again, buy Raycons at buyraycons@buyraycon.com/THPN. But yeah, check out Raycons out. They make a great product. It's available, and they're actually quality. It's not a lot of this Amazon filler that you find. Like, they're actually somewhat quality headphones. So check out Raycons.
Yeah, I could speak on that. I mean, I used to drive my old Ford Corolla, and I had my Raycons plugged in because I didn't have Bluetooth radio. So my Raycons came in clutch then. So yeah, check out the product, guys. Raycon, it makes awesome headphones, and I'll start wearing them on the show now more often.
Yeah, I suppose I should do some brand loyalty. That sounds good.
Yeah. Now, speaking of brand loyalty, the Red Wings, this is a Red Wings podcast, but we really don't have any news since the DeBrincat stuff. The only news I found scrolling through Reddit today was that some of the Red Wings, Moritz Seider and a few others, attended the Detroit Lions training camp. So that's pretty much it.
Yeah, there's nothing really going on in Wings news, but there's something pretty big going on.
Yeah, speaking of brand royalty, talk about holy cow, Bruins.
Yeah, Boston Bruins captain Patrice Bergeron announces retirement. Patrice Bergeron has literally been the heart and soul of the Boston Bruins since Zdeno Chara retired.
Yep.
And even before Chara retired, he was a big piece of what made those Boston teams so good. He was a perennial Selke candidate, always in the running for that award. He had great production numbers. Loved around the NHL as a leader on ice and off ice. If you ever get the chance, even if you're not a Bruins fan, watch that Behind the Beast stuff that they put on YouTube, where they sort of show the background stuff that's going on with the team. As much as I hate on the Bruins, I would be lying if I didn't say that I didn't like Patrice Bergeron as a player and as a human being. based on what I've seen.
Yeah,
this is huge for the Bruins.
it is. I see a lot of correlations with the Wings with it, because Bergeron to me is what Datsuk was to the Wings. He was a defensive forward who was very skilled, like you said, Selke nomination. I mean, Datsuk was the same way. And I'm hoping what happened, well, not hoping because we had one of their picks. What happened with the Wings when Datsuk left was we kind of started our descent, our real fall apart. Yeah. We didn't have that defensive forward anymore, really carrying the flow of the team. Could that happen to Boston? I don't know. But, you know, it's kind of sad seeing this guy go out. Like, he's been the heart of their team for quite a while. And, you know, everyone thought, like, the role Boston was on last year in the regular season, like, they broke the record. Like, oh, they're going to do, like, the last dance. Like,
the very last dance, yeah.
And it just fell apart right in that first round. No one saw that coming. Not a fun way to end his career, but what a career he's had.
Yeah, I mean, he went out as a Selke. He went out as a Selke Award winner.
Yeah,
he was notably known for his faceoffs and his defensive play, and he was able to add in on the offensive side. Don't get me wrong there, but he was the best two-way forward we might have seen, probably in our era. I mean, Taves, Hossa, Datsuk, Bergeron, like, they're all up there in that same echelon. You know, and it's kind of,
I think I'm gonna be a homer.
The two guys that went out going head to head for like Selke Awards over the last few years, kind of going out together, seemingly with Taves. But no, Bergeron. I remember that 2013 series. Yeah, it was a sweat fest. You know, he was part of those bad boy Bruins. Like, they're just like, they were feared, and he was a big part of it. It's so weird, you know, kind of a anticlimactic ending, you know, with the first round, and then kind of like, you think someone like him, he'd like make the announcement, this is my last season before the season, but that's just kind of the guy he is. Or I have a little suspicion he might be back with the Bruins kind of being over the cap right now. If someone goes down,
a little clever accounting.
Just saying.
No,
I'm just saying, maybe later in the year he comes back.
Patrice Bergeron, like, again, hate the Bruins, gotta hate the Bruins. Love Patrice Bergeron, love the Bruins locker room. What he has done, what he's carried on from what Zdeno Chara established of that locker room as the captain, and what Bergeron continued. Huge fan. Again, for Hawks fans, Patrice Bergeron had the whole team sit down and watch Kyle Beach's interview to talk about the impact of that and cultivating a locker room that encourages voices to step forward. Like, again, can talk hockey all day. The human being that he is incredible to me. But then on the hockey side, he was sort of that era of the great forwards of our generation and fandom of hockey growing up. Like, it was Bergeron, Taves, Sidney Crosby, Kopitar, Henrik Sedin. Like, those are the names that stand out in my mind whenever I think of, like, who do you think are top centers? Like, those are still ingrained in my brain. Bergeron was just such a force to be reckoned with at any point on the ice. I don't know. It's a huge blow to the Bruins with him and Krejci both retiring, that their famous center depth is now completely gone. It sucks for the Bruins. But
no, Tim, you made a good point about, you know, kind of how the NHL is trying to transition into this change the game mantra, like everybody's welcome, and, you know, Bergeron was a big advocate of that, like you just said, sitting in the Bruins locker room down to watch the Kyle Beach interview, and, you know, he took initiative. So if this is really it, you know, I know I joked around about speculation, maybe he comes back, but like, what a career. It's just, it's so weird seeing these guys, like, we've watched their whole careers and they're retired, and it's mind blowing. Like, getting old sucks.
I know.
Says the youngest guy on the podcast. I love it. No,
shut up.
should go back and watch Hey Arnold.
I was speaking for you guys, all right? I was speaking for you guys.
I assume that you guys, as you slip into the winter years of your...
Every morning I wake up and something new hurts, but hey.
Oh, that's funny. But yeah, congrats.
I want to ask I kind of...
Whoa.
You're
breaking up.
Balls off.
You're breaking up, Jordan.
Oh, man. Some robot just asked me something's going to fall off, and I'm worried now, frankly.
God damn it, Elon.
I think we might have lost her. Oh, Jordan?
Right? Jordan? Are you there? Did the robot let you go?
Blink twice if the robot has you.
Scene one.
I'm concerned because he's not blinking.
Ladies and gentlemen, as with technology, it always doesn't want to work when you want it to work. And right now we do want it to work, which is why we can't hear Jordan. So I'm going to talk and let Jordan try to figure out why the robots won't let him go.
We'd probably hear better, Jordan. We'd probably hear Jordan better if we had our Raycons in.
Well, that's the problem, frankly. Like, I would make a DraftKings bet that if we had Raycon earbuds, we'd hear Jordan right now. There's a double for you, boys.
But no, Tim had a very interesting question before the show.
Oh, I did.
For us all, kind of, we like to do a weekly discussion, a talking point. And Tim, you brought up a very interesting question for us.
I did. I want to put it forward to you guys. Every year, the league gets together and they talk about different. Oh, welcome back, Jordan.
The robots let him go.
Good to have you. He's free. Jordan, just in time for a killer question that I'm about to ask. Every year the league gets together. They discuss rule changes, things that they might need to update around the league. My question to you all is, as Nick has abandoned us, my question to you all is, if you could add, remove, or change one rule in hockey, what would it be? What would that rule be for you?
I'll take it away. I was thinking about this all episode.
I'm excited.
I don't like the trapezoid rule for the goalies.
I love this.
I think we're seeing a lot more goalies. Obviously, we've seen like the Marty Turcos of the days where they were creative. They're creative stick handlers with the puck, and I think let goalies show their shine. Let them. If they want to go take that risk to go out there, I know it's to avoid injury and everything and avoid collisions with them.
I think they should worry about getting hit too.
Yeah,
that's good.
But yeah, that's part of the game. Like,
you're a player.
Yeah, if you come out to play the puck, the crease is your safety area. If you're coming out to play the puck, you better be ready to take a hit.
I mean, I was thinking about them all, and I'm like, there's icing, there's offsides. I agree with you. I think the trapezoid rule should go. The goalies are hockey players. Hockey players are built for hockey. Hockey is an aggressive, violent sport. We've seen goalies do some damage to people as well. I just watched the clip again of Dominic Hasek.
That's exactly what I think of.
Marian Gaborik. And if goalies like Dominic Hasek are allowed to come out and just utterly destroy someone like that,
then you should be able to check, give a full. Yeah.
Yes, the crease is the safe spot. Don't touch a goalie in their crease. You're going to get your butt whooped if you do that. But if the goalie's coming out, hockey players, stick handling, all that stuff, let them come out.
Blast them.
If they're going to come out, Cronwall them.
Interesting.
Jordan.
I think probably the one rule I would change about hockey is the high sticking rule, and not high sticking and hitting somebody in the face with your face, but no, not that. I'm talking about when they're
the puck.
A goal doesn't, at the you have your stick more than halfway up. They're it doesn't count. It's a high stick. I think that should be allowed. It a stick is a piece of your equipment. The puck is a piece of the game. You should be allowed to use them however you want to score goals. I think that it's so dumb that they're it can only be halfway up. If it's above your if it's above your shoulders or whatever, it can't count.
My only pushback on that is I do work because I like it for the most part, but my only concern is if that rule goes away, the amount of people that are going to be by the goal, high sticking and stuff like that, which could in turn create more injury opportunities. That's the only thing I could think of, especially being right by a goalie's like face mask and stuff like that. I don't know. That's the only thing for me. Otherwise, I agree with you.
So, like, I've seen some really awesome deflection goals that have gotten ruled off because they're like high stick.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Yeah.
Tim, when you asked the question, I typed in my notes what I think the rule that you're going to say is, because I'm having a real deja vu moment. So
I'm so curious because I go back and forth on this with different.
Before we go to Tim, I thought of another one.
Okay,
excellent. The kicking rule, the kicking motion. Like, there's been so many goals called back where they're like, is that a kick or did it just bounce off of his foot? And I'm just like, just get rid of the rule. Like, no one's intentionally trying to kick a puck in.
I think people should be able to headbutt the puck in.
I was just about to say, honorable mention, shout out Andrew Shaw. You know, if you get creative with it, if you're willing to put your head on the line,
absolutely.
That would have been the greatest goal in Hawks history if that would have happened.
For me, Nick, I can't wait to hear what you think it's going to be. But for me, for this one, the one that's jumping to my head right now, I think that they should take away, when your team is on the penalty kill, I think they should take away the ability to ice the puck. I think that if we're trying to get scoring up and all that stuff, and you've committed a penalty, don't make it easy on the penalty killing team. I want to see more PK strategies. Make it hard for them. If they can just shoot the puck across, that's making it a little easier. Like, I want to see them still have to follow the rules of cross the line, then you can shoot it down. It makes the penalty kill that much more challenging, and that makes penalty kill specialists that much more valuable.
Fuck.
Interesting. Okay. What was your prediction, Nick? That was a good one. I like that.
I always felt like I heard I don't know if maybe it was someone else. I always felt like Tim is a big advocate. If you score on a delayed penalty, you still get the power play.
I am. You are absolutely correct. That's interesting that we were in the same vein of penalties and power plays. But Nick, I have definitely.
Years.
It's not players should be able to wear skates on their hands. Okay.
Oh, yeah, no, hand skates are a big thing I'm an advocate for. If you want to be on all fours and hold the stick with your mouth, like, rock and roll. No, I just think that there's so much we can do to explore the rules on power plays and penalty kills that could spice things up without having to change 5-on-5. That's my whole thing.
I'm going to throw a wild rule out there, too.
Yeah.
If there's a pestering fan and you're in the penalty box and they're really annoying you, each player should be allowed to fight one fan a year.
I like that.
What about the green dudes in Vancouver years ago?
Like, imagine if, Ben Eager, when the board was pounded onto them, Ben Eager's like, you know what? I'm using my one fan fight a year. I'm going to whoop this guy's ass. But no.
But yeah, all this to say, thank you so much for tuning in today. I think that's our call to wrap up the podcast. I know Jordan's clipping a little bit, so I'll do my best at an outro here. Thank you so much for listening to the Stickblade Podcast. You can find us on the Hockey Podcast Network and on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, our YouTube channel, Stickblade Podcast. Anywhere that you get podcasts, we are probably on it. Thank you again to the Hockey Podcast Network and to DraftKings and Raycon. Thank you so much. Again, I'm Tim Stompanato, and I am joined by Jordan Linscott, David Barnhouse, and Nick LePage. And thank you all. Go hockey and have a great week.